Hello. So,
Hello.
so we meet. Not that we haven't seen each other in the meantime, but we meet after 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we were having a call where we were outlining a plan for. We were actually discussing three multiple stages of kind of launching Operately SaaS, and yeah, we said let's meet in 2 weeks. Let's aim for having completed, if not all, then most things from the soft launch list by today. So let's review where we are. Mm, okay, this is the board, and I was crossing over stuff that I know we did successfully. Sorry. Yeah, so I mean on the website side, starting from the top, on the website side, besides a few details that I'll do kind of on the go, we have completed what we wanted to do. There are multiple new pages created. We have, yeah, covered everything that's here. There is one potentially. Okay, once we get to that. So personally, what I was working after a bunch of website changes was documentation, which we established as under the name of a help center. So I was basically looking it up, and the word help center is kind of an accepted term in the B2B world. It's more in the developer, more techies ecosystem that the word documentation is being used. And we said, okay, do what we can in 1 week, which was the week behind us. Let me see if yeah, so under the website work, we have all these new, sorry, this goes to calendar. For example, we create these pages, and we can see for the help, I was not as productive as I hoped. So basically, I just bootstrapped a new kind of a new structure and a set of pages in our existing website repository. It was a big win. We were hoping that we will be able to have it all under one repository. So that was easy enough with this. I don't even know what to call it. Like it's an Astro integration or package. And also template in one. It's called Starlight. So besides these introductory kind of pages, I didn't go much further. Well, not excuses, but basically there are a couple of factors, some personal and some yeah, stuff came up. I also, to be honest, I've kind of learned over the years to acknowledge these things. It's not, I'm not the most engaged while doing this. Especially now because the next page was supposed to be finally some kind of a step-by-step like a quick tour or some kind of a getting started guide. Yeah, that all that stuff is still pending. I also ran into kind of a dependency, maybe not a roadblock, but because we have this, let's say, quite rich demo organization with demo data, and I plan to use that as a as the foundation for making, all kinds of screenshots and mm, yeah, later videos. And I've noticed that there are some things that I would like to see added to that kind of data set. Just this morning I opened an issue, but um, it's not a roadblock. I can still write a ton of stuff before that gets pushed. Mm. So overall, I would say I kind of underestimated this project, and it's as I started working, I also realized there are some additional because additional maybe deliverables in terms of like, okay, let's say there will be a point where I'll stop, but I wouldn't like to be the only documentation guy. Like I would like to sort of equip you with a workflow, let's say, where you could like use an AI tool that would help you to like transform. Maybe let's say you finished like a feature, like a small feature, and my goal is to have like a recipe where like, okay, here is maybe like a custom GPT or something, which is like based on the content that we have, the tone of voice and so on. And then if you are a developer who never wrote any kind of user manual kind of stuff, you would just like give it a couple of bullet points of what this feature does and give screenshots. And I'm pretty sure that the AI could help basically write 99% of what we would consider a good job. So that's also something I figured out along the way. That is now maybe the question: to what extent do we extend this project, and by what criteria? Like, is it time bound? Is it based on deliverables? We can maybe stop here on that subject.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in with several stuff, but
yeah,
I was muted.
I have no idea at what point, but go ahead.
So I really like the website. I think that the changes that we made were necessary and are implemented very well.
Yeah, there's also this one. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask about the help center.
Mm-hmm.
My immediate feeling is that it reminds me about those very heavy developer-centric documentation or help centers. Is this the standard to be like super heavy, or can we go leaner, without sidebars, without my primary concern is that page gives me an overwhelming feeling. If that is the standard, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I feel that it should be much leaner.
I think well, I don't want to say what I want to say. Let's take an open source product that's relatively still early stage. generally, regardless of what your index looks like, there is there's a sidebar and some kind of a step-by-step, you know, an article, you know, with screenshots and animations. If you, I was looking at Slack, for example. These were like more kind of like established products. They actually usually start like this with a search box, and then they have like a grid of categories, and then you are usually it's kind of like this. You're presented with a bunch of links that are, you know, titles of the. This is instead of the sidebar.
Yeah.
And then finally you land on an article, which again is, you know, subheaders, some text, some bullet points, some screenshots. It cannot be any different fundamentally. So
Yeah, I guess I'm more used to this kind of flow, where I get a very high overview, where the documentation is, or the help center is. It's hard for me to use that word, where the help center is somehow more like a guided tour, or what you can do and how to do it. And for example, if you look at Notion or some, you know, I want to look at a business application that has like is meant to use by anyone.
I mean, it's never easy. You know, it's never like walk in the park. Because when you start explaining, it's just like there's always a lot to explain. Like, and yeah.
I think, for example, here one sidebar is where I would say it's good.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets two sidebars, then it gets the main content loses its focus somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not at that stage right now. For me, just creating the content that we need to create is a pretty big kind of task and challenge. And I think once we have it, we can. Once you know you've done that, it's pretty. I think it's not a problem to find to kind of take some time and do a different layout. I am, you know, basically just using what's like an official kind of package by Astro people. I'm not comfortable with something more obscure.
I mean, the reason why I jump on this and not on the content is usually when I'm writing, the layout actually influences what I write, or how I write it, or what are the segments that I split into.
Mm.
So that was my first, like, if we are, for example, as Slack did it, then I would probably write a bit differently than when I have one or two sidebars, where jumping between topics is very easy.
Well, there is the I haven't approached it from that angle. I don't care. Like, it doesn't influence my writing personally, but I think organization of content is not an easy, like, challenge. But in general, I I have actually looked at Slack's help center the most because, and I like this approach of what looks like more micro pages than pages that are somehow like an aggregate of various scenarios, various use cases in one. Obviously,
I completely agree with that. I
yeah,
want to have a page that says, you know, I want to create a project. That's it. Don't explain me your whole life philosophy of everything in a health center. Just give me how to do it.
yeah. I'm not, I think just let's say if we would end up with the just this number of pages with the titles that are comparable in, let's say, length, I think we will probably see some deal breaking limitations of the kind of Gitbook layout style sidebar. But yeah, I think I would just, at this point prefer to write but generally follow this idea, because this is how you can reply to a support request with a link that is straightforward and impossible to misunderstand. That's obviously we want AI agents to do customer support. And so there is, to some extent.
Also, it's easy to extend. That's a big thing. If you're writing about a very specific small topic, then if some specific problem arises, you can just create a small article about that. That's it. It can be linked somewhere. When you have a long article, then it's challenging because as you add more and more stuff between the paragraphs, jumping between paragraphs becomes harder. And as a writer, you need to be very conscious about how I'm using up my space, because people are using this page for everything.
Yeah, that was generally my plan. I mean, again, I would follow this example where this was my intention to have. So they have like this is like a quick start, which is kind of just like a quick tour of what is what in the UI, and they have these like pages for people who create workspace, who basically start the account, or people who join. And these are, I think, the only pages about that kind of combine different, kind of talk about different features and how they work together. Everything else is like single use case, one use case, one scenario, one page, basically.
Now that you have pointed out this, that they have a tailored section for Slack admins, tailored section for new users. This reminds me that this is a very, very practical thing that we need to do with Operately as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different set to manage the whole company. I mean, just administrative wise, manage the whole company, and the whole completely different stuff to be a champion or, just be a regular employee at some company who wants to do some stuff, but he's generally not interested in maybe setting up goals or, long-term plans, just to use everyday comments and replies and milestones and so on.
Yeah, these are fundamentally different scenarios. So as an organization admin, we will tell you to create spaces, invite people, create the first like goal and maybe project. And for new users, the getting started includes things like, set your time zone and,
I think we can continue. I just wanted to express that I don't like two sidebars. That's the base of everything.
Okay. We can do 3. That's it.
That's the, when you have a junior engineer and you tell him like maybe this is not good, and then he just splits in 4 functions. Like, no, not like that.
Yeah, so I want to make comment from on here, and then you can take over with the rest. So it's just kind of crossed my mind to actually build a public contact us page with a form. That it wouldn't be like, just, anyway, forget about that. But basically, if we had like a operator.com/contact, then that's like one URL you can always kind of link to, mention. It's absolutely clear.
I see that you mentioned that like in the application, and there is a difference between those two. Usually in the application knows who you are, your email, your name, your everything, which company you are part of. So I'm not sure if you can actually use the same thing in 2 different places, but maybe I'm wrong.
We probably can't. I don't know. To me, it's like /contact. Like that page would be completely public. It could still ask you for your maybe organization ID if you have that, if you are a user. But you could use that to just send any kind of inquiry, and you would fill in everything from name and email and so on. But within the app, knowing who you are, knowing your email, we could make the experience simpler, or we could add potentially kind of specialized widget for people to express some additional information, considering that they don't have to fill in almost anything else.
Just the other day, I had the worst experience with one of these tools. I was signing up to test out some open source tool. And of course, they have that intercom bubble in the right corner. And your space to write out anything meaningful is very limited, which makes sense if you are communicating live. That's completely fine. Like, hello, and then you will get a reply.
Yeah.
But in their intercom message, it says like, we will respond back in 12 hours. Like, then give me an email. then don't leave me to a very small thing in the corner. And of course, I didn't get an answer ever back. So that's another story.
Yeah, well, from the days I used intercom, I mean, did you receive a confirmation email at least that your request was sent, or?
I did, and to be honest, I got a response back. It was 8 days later.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, maybe I will invest again 1 hour of my time to just figure out, this basic thing.
Yeah, the 12-hour thing is entirely, I think, dependent on that, how fast that team responds on average. And so
But yeah, we started with a public contact us page. I think completely makes sense.
Okay, from these other things, what do you want to where do you want to start from?
Well, maybe I can just comment on what is done and what is not.
Yeah.
So the admin interface, we reviewed it already. I think it's good for our use case.
Yeah.
Welcome emails, we talked in the previous session that it's right around the corner. We need to figure out maybe the copy and how to exactly connect those two things, but let's say that we are already there. One thing that is kind of hard to track right now is to get an instant notification when someone signs up. I think it would be valuable for us. I was thinking about that when I was implementing the admin interface. Like, okay, if someone signs up, one way is to just, every day monitor that page. But ideally, it would be even better if we get an email or we get some Discord message or, whatever, just to ping us that, hey, pay attention. There is someone who wants to try it out.
Yeah. Why was it challenging?
What?
I think you said it's challenging, or you just didn't get to it.
I mean, it's challenging to monitor the admin interface every day and to not miss new people like with that flow.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe my comment is to not in this category, but in the next one, add a green thing. We need to be aware as soon as possible when people start to sign up.
You mean here?
Yes.
The next phase, yeah.
I was even thinking that send grid automation can do the job. Like as it sends to the user that hello, welcome, it can send it to us that someone new signed up. Maybe.
Yeah.
And unless you have a comment about the green stuff, I would move on to the brown stuff.
Yeah.
So we had some doubts with moving the Cloudflare account. I think you mostly did everything there. Uptime monitoring is done with openstatus.dev, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's an open source startup. And exception tracking is something I didn't do. Not because I didn't want to do it, but whatever I looked at was either too heavy for our use case. For example, AppSignal is, okay, it tracks exceptions, but it also wants to integrate with everything and monitor and, collect data and stuff, which is fine. But then the price instantly goes to, $100, $200 for very basic use cases. So yeah, I'm not yet sure what is the best approach there. Maybe I can go give Sentry another go. There is a startup called Honey Badger. Not even a startup, but it's a small company. Yeah, so I'm looking left and right how to make it painless and also not be super expensive for our needs and to not, be super heavy to set up. Still not a good solution there. Did you maybe use Honey Badger in the past? It's a Rails-based, it's a Rails-heavy monitoring tool.
No, but I know that name from like ages ago, from early days of Semaphore. I don't know if they were. I think they were a customer at some point, or maybe we did something with them.
That's my recollection as well. Like I know that name, I just don't know from where.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a tricky market. You know, everybody. There's a lot of competition in the space, and probably not a lot of money to make on the basic use case, which is exactly what we need right now. And then all of them were pushed in this arms race to add other features like monitoring and stuff. I guess since we I hope there's a player who maybe just stuck to the basics. We could just like raw dog it with logs.
well, that's the interesting thing. For example, Grafana, which is becoming an industry standard. Like their solution is almost always logging. Like you log stuff, and then it will point out various problems. But that's such assembly level
Yeah.
thing that, like, why would I do that?
Yeah, every problem in life is like just log it and stream it.
And the main problem with logging is that you don't get the main problem currently with Sentry is that you don't get good stack traces. And without a good stack trace, it's like, okay, I know that something happened, but I want to know where. And that's exactly the same problem with logging as well. I know that a problem occurred, but give me where.
Have you asked on Elixir forum?
No, that's a good point. But I don't. So I have one like stereotype about those people there. All of them are very hardcore. So whatever you ask, it needs to be like world scaling. Of course, it supports multi-continental deployments and everything. And then you usually need to just write another message like, okay, chill dude, like I need something which works for, how many exceptions we will have per month, 10.
Our code is perfect, so.
Well, yeah, actually, I don't see that we will have so many exceptions.
Yeah. I think they will, yeah. I'm just saying, explain it in terms that they understand.
Yeah. So far, my best friend was ChatGPT. Like whatever he says, okay, it's a world scaling solution, and then okay, I have like this many dollars, and then it actually gives you some normal feedback.
Yeah, good point.
So about the app. So on the onboarding side, users can create a new account. They cannot create a demo organization. Not really a good reason why I just always have a break. Like, okay, is that really the demo that I want to give them? Because it will create reminders. It will send you emails to check in on things. It will be a bit too heavy for customers. It's a good one day thing to explore, but long term you don't want that.
Well, that's yeah. That's a consequence of the way it's made, which is that you as a current user are sort of injected inside that organization, as a basically company owner.
Yeah.
And you might say, you know, well, why don't you guys create a demo org where you're just an observer? Yeah, we can think about it separately.
Yeah. The main problem was that I think the current demo org is not ready to be used for this purpose. And then if I would go with using it, then it opens up, you know, quite a lot of work that I might not want to invest in right now compared to some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually now I'm beginning to realize kind of conflicting interests. So I am, from my side, as for example, creator of content, I want the demo organization to become like content maximalistic, you know, like very rich, very developed, but that's not in the interest of a casual new user checking out the product. It would definitely create an overwhelming effect.
If we move on from there, then we have the UX problems, which is, let's say, more of a placeholder than an actual thing to do. But as a placeholder, one approach to take it is, you know, going through several sessions and logging out just what was the biggest problem. Once we have that, then we can tackle it. It's, I think, much easier to do it like that.
Yeah, I mean the last two are, you know, sort of entry tickets to actually discovering what's to do. So
I mean, the last two, if we are completely honest, like, yeah, they are application, but they are QA, which is a separate category in some way. Like, we don't really know even if we need to do something, but we need to have that practice of doing quality assurance.
yeah.
And I think on the legal side, we also have something else to do.
Really?
Yeah, we didn't. So now we have an EE folder, which is good, but we still don't have any, you know, legal documents about what that is, or those exceptions are not really put there. So yeah.
How would you summarize that?
That's like EE license.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct, that's a license that needs to live under the EE folder and explain the terms. And the other thing is it needs to go into the main license as an exception. Like, okay, this is the exception and this is the place where you can read more about that exception.
So all this together, where does that put us?
I think it would be very valuable to mark things that are, let's say, must have for the shadow launch and things which are nice to have. For example, exception tracking is in the nice to have category because we already have ways to figure out if something goes wrong. We just don't have the best developer experience for that. Please don't use yellow stars.
Yellow and yellow, why not?
I think it has some World War II connotations.
Really?
Yeah. Am I wrong about that?
You are. I've never heard of this. I can. I can put a horse.
That's good.
Why not put a horse? Well, the question of scope here is kind of bugging me.
I mean, even if you're just about the support, I think the first one is the must-have. The second one can be later. And I think the same goes with the help center as well. There is some initial scope and there is the later scope that we want.
I mean, yeah, to concretely, like we could have just an email for support and a link in the app that basically opens the email client. That's a must, but that's good enough for the very beginning. And for the help center, I cannot say I would rather not say something which sounds like because it's not a well-formed opinion right now. But I think my maybe immediate next kind of step would be to just sort of write down what I think could be the initial scope. Generally, as a guiding principle, I would say, what's the getting started of everything? Yeah. And then take it from there.
That sounds good.
Let me just highlight this with a small horse. And
The horse means that it's important, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like my subjective, I don't think we have read where. Okay. I don't think we have, I think, for example, here you have somewhere. Actually, in the previous session where we were reviewing the sign-up flow, we stopped at the moment where there's a screen which invites you to create an organization. And I don't know actually if you were planning to do something about that, but let's say if we just treat that as one screen with a little bit of care, I don't think that there will be any like embarrassing things on any other screen, really. Like talking about this, like the experience of the first 30 minutes, like we have been experiencing all those screens and their zero states ourselves, like the past couple of weeks and months. And we've iterated on all of them a few times. So I think, again, speaking of like what to mark with a horse as a must have for the soft launch, I think I would say just focus on the sign up and create org, like those new screens, and take it from there.
When we are talking about the process itself, not what actually is needed,
Yeah.
I feel that we would miss out if we don't have like an official, like this is the moment when we are actually, testing from fresh email and then, getting into the application and creating first things.
Mm.
Because I agree on everything, like we have experienced every page, in various forms, but we didn't really do that in one continuous go. And it can uncover some uncomfortable truths for us. For example, that something is not easy to do or confusing or...
Yeah. I'm not saying like to not even look at it in that kind of a flow that you're describing. But I don't think there is, maybe my main point, I don't think there is a ton of work that's kind of hiding somewhere. That we'll see.
I think that the biggest dip in the application currently is, I'd say that the current sign-up flow is okay. And then when you jump into the application, then, okay, you get a green big button that says create a new organization or company or whatever it says. That is a dipping point where the experience is not so good. The sign-up page, for example, has a reasonably good experience. It can have better copy, but at that point when you enter, then it's on your own, which is not so good.
I agree. I think we are on these last few points. We're actually maybe entering the territory where you're just talking too much about something that you haven't yet started, and you just like have to go do it, and then it'll be very. So okay, I think the conclusion is, maybe I'll go back again, is that what is a must is to do the process.
Yes.
Of these reviews, and then we will use our best judgment. No, I did not mean here. I meant here.
Now, one more thing that is left. Let's say we have everything here completed. The last thing is we need to decide when to replace the join the waiting list button on the website with a sign up. And I would say that these horses are actually representing that.
Yes. Is it waitlist or waiting list? Who knows?
So do we have an estimate when we can say that's it? I assume that the help center is the biggest piece of work.
It is, yeah. I don't think I can do it in just 1 week, along with just other stuff kind of popping up always. But let's see. Maybe after I post my estimate for the estimate, my outline of the, let's say, deliverables that I would like to do. Then maybe within that scope, we can say, okay, maybe 70% of that is good enough to flip the switch, and not like the whole universe is waiting outside our door anyway. So I think the kind of documentation stuff is not the most, again, not the most exciting, but I would, the sooner we get to completion of complete coverage of what we have, the better, because the opposite of like prolonging that is a pretty bad, would be a pretty bad outcome. We would never kind of catch up, and we would have outdated information. And this is a foundation for me. I see very clear feedback loop where this is actually, I see this like the AI crawlers are my primary readers, and the other kind of pillar is support. So cannot do a good job on these two fronts without being good on in the content.
I think we are finished.
Yeah. I mean, the goal was to just review and assess and get to a common understanding of all points. It was very valuable. I mean, yeah, I think we synced up pretty well now.
Yeah.